Hello everyone, today we're back on the dev server for updates 1.79 and it's time to look at the Mk.VIA AA. This is the little piddler, and what it is a British vehicle which has access to 4 7.92 BESA machine guns, and this is one of my favourite vehicles which is coming out in updates 1.79, and it's not generally because of the vehicle itself, it's the fact that what we might see is more variants of a very similar vehicle. This is basically a Vickers light tank, and if you know anything about the history of it, there were many odd and weird variations. Many of them don't really fit in War Thunder because they don't have the guns to do anything, kind of like this one, apart from, you know, AA abilities. But there were a few which did have at least guns which could be viable around the 1013, and what you're getting, just like out of this Mark 6A, basically no armor. I mean, 14mm on the front, 14 on the side, 14 on the back, basically a def box, and then on top you're looking at 14 again, 14 all over, and with these 4 7.92 BESs you're getting an AA vehicle. But overall, in this vehicle, you're just getting a quick little machine with an 88 horsepower engine, a little tug right here, 4.9 tons, 2 crew. When you compare this to the German one, which is brought in, let's just say they have slightly different roles. This is much more of a tank killer. This is a, well, we're going to try and kill some planes, and if we don't, well, it's completely fine. We can just tuddle about the battlefield, and I show you why after looking at the modifications. So the first thing to realize with the 7.92s is the default belts, ball TIT, not really going to do a lot for you. 2 rounds there, which are pretty much just ball ammo. So yeah, it's not going to be good. So your choices are APTIT ball, APIT, so ITIT APT, or APT with APAPITT. So it's going to be between APIT and APT. For me personally, I'm going for the APIT because I'm going after more planes than I am tanks. But if you really want that killing power of 13mm to be put to its most effective with 2 AP shells instead of 1 AP shell, you take the APT and go after some of the lighter vehicles. What is interesting also about this vehicle is that it has gun depression. So it actually has 10 degrees gun depression. Now this is probably because the guns themselves are quite small, but it is something to recognize. Also 3,600 rounds set between 4 clips, so 900 rounds a clip, is nothing short of amazing for an AA at this level. It basically means that you can just toss ammo all over the place, and I don't know whether this is a bug on the dev server or not, but when I test drive it, the guns don't overheat. Now this might be because of the caliber of the guns not being very large, and therefore taking years to overheat, or it could be an issue with something else. My guess is the something else part, because this crew is generally not great. One thing to note, as you can see, the camera is miles away from this thing, and when we go in, we actually get closer to it than we do on the German vehicle. You get that wonderful sound from the 7.7s. Already done some damage to that BF-110. Unfortunately, it doesn't get radar, a little bit too early for a machine like this. But yeah, your camera is miles away, and this might be great for a reconnaissance idea. Use this thing as recon while going around the battlefield, capping points when you don't see anybody, being able to spot targets. To me, that sounds like a really fun and interesting idea to do with this thing. The suspension has a little bit of give in it, not a lot, but overall, you're getting up to a decent speed. Around about 30 kilometers an hour in this for a rank 1 vehicle isn't too bad. There are going to be a lot of vehicles, especially American and German ones, which are going to pick on you quite hard in this thing, so you better get used to that, and don't tip it over when you brake as well. I've heard that's kind of bad. Let's just try and take this BF-110 out. Good old aimer is just off massively. There we go. But yeah, we'll get up to speed and then we'll brake, and I'll show you why. You might have seen it a little bit before, but because this thing is so light, and because it has quite a decent brake pedal on it, one of the issues you may run into is when you brake, look at that. I mean, it's just right for the tipping. If you look at reverse as well, you're only talking about 6 kilometers an hour, so once you're in a place, you're in a place, you're not going to get out. But maneuverability-wise, I mean, it's great for a little tank. It reminds me of the Daimler without the bouncing around. Instead, you just bounce forward and backwards instead of left and right. So let's have a look at this BF-110. We'll take him on. The gun itself is a little bit inaccurate when you decide to shoot on the move, so that is something you will have to deal with as time goes on with this little machine. But yeah, there's something about these little armoured cars that Britain creates, which is just a hell of a lot of fun to just fly about the map in, like the Daimler, like the AEC. And this Vickers is no different when it comes to it. It's just another one of those little tanks that you can kind of piss about with, not really take the game too seriously, and see what you can do with it, whether it's try and put it on another vehicle and try and carry it around the place, or whether it's just go and... Actually, let's just test the AP quickly on the Panzer II. Or if it's just to toddle about the mountains, maybe go around... oh, it finally went down. Go around Britain in this thing. The survivability is pretty bad. The guy in the center, the commander and gunner, all he has to do is get machine gunned to death, and it's not exactly hard to do when he's got his face popped up there. It'd be kind of nice of him to duck down every once in a while, but unfortunately he doesn't do that. The exhaust is wonderful, as you can see, nearly as big as the engine itself, maybe even bigger than the engine itself. And then we have a few blankets on the back, just to top off the style. Also, the suspension works individually, which is nice to see. Right, let's see. Can we actually pen the side of this? Whoop! I mean, we got a hit there. It doesn't look like it. I mean, it has 13mm of penetration at 10, so if we get a little bit closer, maybe we can do something. I'm not sure how thick the Panzer II's armor is, though. You're going to have a hell of a fight with the M2A2 with this machine, but I think the M2A2 may win, just because it has that 50 cal and it can pen you and kill that guy pretty easily, or kill the driver. Overall, it's another one just like the gas truck from the Russians. Maybe, you know, a lot of people would say it isn't required to be added, but I tell you what, it's nice to have a BR 1.0 AA, and on top of that, it's nice to have a cute one, which is incredibly fun to toss around. I'll see you next time.